Do I need a will or a trust? I'm Jeff Stinson of the Stinson Law Firm, an elder and special needs firm in Central Indiana. Do I need a will or a trust? Boy, that's a common question I get in my law firm. You see, trusts have a number of uses and purposes. But just as a brief review, a trust is simply a container whereby the person who creates the container is going to put stuff in it, whether it's a house or cash, stocks, that's going to be used by a trustee for the benefit of a beneficiary. A trust might be used to reduce someone's tax liability. It might be used to protect a beneficiary from themselves. It might be used to encourage a beneficiary to meet a certain goal. But in this context, what we're really referring to is to set up what I call someone's alter ego. When we're setting up a trust in this context, the trust is really stepping into the shoes of the individual. They're creating a container, putting their own assets into that container that they're controlling for their own use. So we still got to get back to what's the purpose of that? Well, if you want bragging rights to say, hey, I have a trust, sure, you could do that. But typically what you want is something a little more. Well, one reason to have a trust, it does make things easier on the next generation, the next folks that's going to step up and do things for you. Because frankly, you've got everything in that one container. So if your son's going to be the next person to manage finances, he just picks up that container and runs with it. He doesn't have to go to the bank and go to the brokerage company and go to the investment firm. Everything's already right in that neat container. The other thing it does is avoid probate. Now, I don't want to get hung up on this concept because I do think probate gets a bad rap. Yes, avoiding probate does save a little bit of fees with your final affairs, but you do invest a little bit more in the front end when you're setting up the trust. So there's kind of a balancing there. Yes, I do concede that avoiding probate does kind of eliminate some hassle because your kids aren't going to court getting the permission of the judge to do things when you pass. So on that respect, avoiding probate is a plus when you set up the trust. Another thing you might look at, though, is privacy. Do you have a disgruntled family member that you think is going to cause problems when you're gone? Well, a trust keeps things out of the public record. It makes it a little more difficult for that family member to challenge what you have done. So for that reason, you might want to think of setting up a trust. But finally, if you have a complicated beneficiary designation, you might consider setting up a trust for that purpose because everything will be kept within that one container. You just throw everything into that container, and then if you want to make a change to that complicated designation, you just change that beneficiary designation one place. You don't have to go to your IRA and your 401k and your bank account and your will. Everything is just changed within that container. So there you go. There's a few reasons you might think through as to whether you need a will or a trust.